It is 6 o'clock, and we will call our regularly scheduled board meeting to order. And so our first agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to welcome our students from Merriam Park Elementary and principal. They're going to lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome. So glad you're all here tonight.
Good evening. I'm Amy Semyonov, and I am the proud principal of Merriam Park Elementary, and I am going to let our students introduce themselves.
I'm Nicholas Aguirre. I'm a fifth grader in Merriam Park.
I'm Katie Agnew, and I'm a fifth grader in Merriam Park.
I am Lila Pack, and I am a fifth grader at Merriam Park.
I'm Alexander Aguirre, and I'm a fifth grader in Merriam Park.
I am Gwyneth Walker, and I'm a fifth grader in Merriam Park.
I am Xander Person, and I'm a fifth grader at Merriam Park.
I'm Sophia Dubois, and I'm a sixth grader at Merriam Park.
I'm Liliana Jimenez, and I'm a sixth grader at Merriam Park.
Good job.
These students these fifth and sixth grade students are a part of our student lighthouse team, and they are members of our executive board and our class representatives. They're very important at our school.
Very important. Thank you so much. It's the best. All right, so as our students are filing out, we need to adopt our agenda for this evening. So unless there are no changes, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved, Ashley.
Right.
Second, Goodburn.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. This takes us to the superintendent report. Dr. Hubbard.
Yes, thank you. So we continue to read across SMSD, and this October we are focused on the theme of foster belonging. Lenexa Hills Elementary students and Megan Ellis, visual arts coordinator and Lenexa Hills art teacher, helped introduce the theme to our community this month. Let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Megan Ellis, visual arts coordinator for the Shawnee Mission School District and Lenexa Hills art teacher. Our October Read Across SMSD theme is Foster Belonging. This theme gives us a chance to practice getting to know and understand each other better, especially the people we interact with every day. This month's elementary level book is called Growing an Artist, The Story of a Landscaper and His Son by John Parra. The book is about Juanito. He spends a day working alongside his father, who works as a landscape contractor. By working with his father, he gets a chance to understand his father better. He also learns new ways to express himself by creating his own plans for a garden. He becomes determined to use his art to tell his story and the story of people in his life. I'm here at Lenexa Hills, where we are all growing as artists. Our outdoor learning space gives us many opportunities to be inspired and tell our stories through art, just like Juanito.
This is so cool.
I did landscape art because I love to go hiking, and not only do you get to do hiking, but you also get to take pictures of all of your fascinating stuff you find along the way.
It made it easier to find more beautiful angles and like more pictures and different things to take pictures of if you have multiple people.
Yeah, you have those different opinions and ideas, right?
Yeah.
How does it feel when they see your artwork?
Like they can see how creative I am, like see like what I want to like draw. Sometimes we like have like different stuff in mind.
How do you like making art projects outside like this?
I feel good about it. I feel creative, and I like the fresh air about it. I think It's like fun, and it's like fun to make art outside.
It's really different from being in the classroom, isn't it?
Yeah.
We always learn so much about ourselves, the world around us, and each other when we create art. I encourage everyone to tell your story through art. Let's read across SMSD.
So I just want to take this opportunity to thank NEA Shawnee Mission for their partnership and the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation for their support in providing Read Across SMSD
Hello.
books to all of our school libraries.
I'm Megan Ellis.
And of course to Megan Ellis. Hello, Visual Arts Coordinator. Next, families and students are invited to one of the biggest college fairs in the Kansas City area this week. The Shawnee Mission College Clinic will be held from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 12th at Shawnee Mission East High School. There will be representatives from more than 150 colleges and universities present to answer questions and help students plan for the future. We'll include a link in the recap about parking, shuttles, and other helpful details for attending this event. I had the joy of visiting Advent Health last week to see our students from Project Search. They were taking time at Advent Health to bring attention to disability employment awareness. Project Search is a school-to-work transition program that provides real-world work experiences combined with training to prepare students with disabilities for employment success after high school. Our Project Search students fulfill many roles at Advent Health, and they were able to talk about these experiences while we visited with them. We thank the students for all they shared with anyone who walked by, and we're glad to celebrate all that is made possible through Project Search partnership. And while I'm not trying to rush the school year, I do always look forward to their graduation. It's a really awesome event. This week, I'm proud to share that we had 111 students in the class of 2022 earn a Seal of Biliteracy. The seal is a Kansas State Department of Education certificate that recognizes any student who attained proficiency in English in one or more other world languages. Among those 111 students, 10 languages were represented. We congratulate all of these students and the teachers that supported them and acknowledge all of the hard work and dedication it took to achieve this recognition. At a recent KC Current professional women's soccer game, Zulma Perez Estrella was surprised with a recognition. The biotechnology and medical science instructor for the Shawnee Mission School District was celebrated and presented funds for her classroom at Children's Mercy Park. The Kansas City Current, along with the 15 and the Mahomes Foundation, have been fulfilling wish lists for educators throughout Kansas City who have been nominated by the Latinx Education Collaborative. The collaborative works to retain and increase the representation of Latinx education professionals in K-12 education. Prior to the recognition, the Latinx Education Collaborative asked educators to develop a wish list for their classroom. During the recognition, Perez Estrella was presented with classroom supplies and $1,500. And lastly, I want to take a moment to thank everyone for joining us at the 2022 Shawnee Mission Education Foundation Fall Breakfast. We are so proud of all of the students, staff, and community members who showed us what it means to be one Shawnee Mission at this event. Of course, we also had the amazing announcement that children ages birth to 5 years old in our boundaries can now receive a free age-appropriate book each month through Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We are so excited that the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation is the first affiliate of the Imagination Library in our county. The foundation has shared that they have received an incredible response with more than 2,500 children registered already. We will share a link in the recap with more information and an opportunity to sign up. And Dr. Neal just shared today that if you think about if I sign up at birth for my child, that's 60 books that a kid can have in their hand by the time they go to kindergarten. So really cool, and I would just encourage everyone to sign their kids up. The other question that I think I've heard people ask, is this for a family or for kids? And if you have 5 kids under the age of 5 in your household, they can all be signed up, so they all receive their own personalized book, which is also really cool. So you may have also heard that the foundation is out in schools this week making scholarship Shawnee Mission announcements, and we can't wait for more to be shared about that soon. And just thank you to the foundation for all they do for our students and staff. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hubbard. That was a good one.
That's
fun
always
things.
fun.
Always fun things. All right, this brings us to 3.1, our Student and Family Services Program update.
So yes, we have several team members joining us tonight, but I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ziegler to just introduce our team members and share our Student and Family Services Program update.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to just start by showing our gratitude for the opportunity to share an update on the work within the Student and Family Services team this evening. As you may know, we align the work of our team to the strategic plan and highlight our strength in particular to connection with Strategy 2, which clearly states we relentlessly create a fully unified, equitable, and inclusive culture. The heart of our work is found in our service and support to the students and families, as well as supporting our teams of student services and educators who serve at the school level. The work we're sharing tonight with you is largely the result of connection and collaboration across our system. We participate in ongoing collaboration across many district teams, including leadership learning, curriculum instruction, human resources, to ensure the needs of learners that they are being met. This evening, you'll hear examples of the touch points that occur across those departments and teams through recent project work that supports every student achieving academic success, developing and utilizing personal resilience, and developing those interpersonal skills to be engaged, empathetic members of the local and global community. So we're excited to be here this evening. Our presentation this evening will focus on the key elements of the work of the Student and Family Services team that's comprised of Dr. John McKinney, Dr. Tyrone Bates Jr., Mr. David Armovich, and the expertise in our student service building teams comprised of dedicated social workers and counselors. We also have special guests with us tonight, and I'm super excited. They will be individually introduced later as we talk about our work in diversity, equity, inclusion, but we have some of our student leaders from our YES program this evening representing Shawnee Mission Northwest, Shawnee Mission South, Shawnee Mission North, and Shawnee Mission East. So you will hear from our special guests here in just a moment. While you've had the opportunity to review our full report, we're going to highlight a few key pillars of our work that are focused on student supports, our family supports and engagement work, and also the ongoing work with diversity, equity, inclusion. So I'll now transition to Dr. McKinney, and he will lead us off with a focus on some of the social emotional character development standards.
Thank you, Dr. Ziegler, and good evening, board. Good evening, Dr. Hubbard. Happy World Mental Health Day.
And to you.
Social and emotional character development involves the processes through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitude, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. The phrase Maslow before Bloom is popular in education circles, and it's typically used to communicate how humans need their basic needs met before academic learning can be fully embraced. Students who report higher social and emotional competencies have significantly higher reading and math scores and overall weighted GPAs. They have lower rates of suspension and absenteeism. They're less likely to be at risk for dropping out. They're more likely to graduate on time. And moreover, staff who work at schools and in school districts with high buy-in for SEL report significantly less stress and burnout than staff who work in schools where SEL buy-in is lower. The best schools foster students' academic, social, and emotional competencies. And so as a district, we are committed to ensuring that every student and family has access to high-quality mental health support and resources, educating all school staff about trauma and mental health, involving the school community in efforts to support students and staff, paying attention to the mental health needs of school staff, and continuing to monitor and address the many and varied needs of our students and families. The Department of Student and Family Services would like to thank Dr. Hubbard and the board for recognizing that a student's social and emotional well-being is an essential part of their education. And that includes, of course, full-time social workers and counselors. SMSD employs a team of 46 masters in clinical level social workers and 40 counselors, primarily at the secondary level, including 5 real-world learning counselors. During the 21-22 school year, school counselors and social workers logged over 53,000 guidance-related interactions with classes and individual students in Skyward. This figure includes over 10,000 entries categorized as social-emotional, which can include working with students on skill building, emotional regulation and coping skills, social skills, self-management, or just talking through a situation. During the current 22-23 school year, school counselors and social workers have continued to meet the many and varied needs of SMSD students and their families, and to date have logged over 1,200 guidance-related interactions with students, 586 of which have been characterized as social-emotional. During the 21-22 school year, we also saw the addition of real-world learning counselors at the high school level. These counselors specialize on developing real-world learning opportunities for students as they prepare for college and careers. At the core of real-world learning are market value assets, or MVAs, which you've heard Dr. Fleury and others address before the board in previous presentations. Social-emotional well-being of our students is not just a priority for the Shawnee Mission School District, but for Kansas as a whole. In the Kansas CAN Vision for Education, social-emotional growth is one of 5 measured outcomes set forth by the Kansas State Board of Education for schools schools in our state. The skills encompassed include interpersonal and intrapersonal abilities such as self-awareness, social awareness, problem-solving, and decision-making. These are skills that can be taught, and they are foundational to student success in school and in life. The Kansas CAN Vision for Education helps reinforce the value and importance of of measuring the social-emotional development of students, just as academic development is measured. These measures can inform instructional practices, moving social and emotional learning from a singular endeavor to an integrated part of our daily instruction and work with students. Through our Kansas Education Systems Accreditation, or KESA process, we are expected to measure and review progress toward goals set in the area of social-emotional development for learning, which takes us to KESA and Panorama. As you know, the district has 2 KESA goals which draw from Panorama data. We have used the Panorama Social-Emotional Learning Survey since 2019 and have given the survey twice a year to students in grades 3 through 12 whose parents have consented for them to take it. We just concluded our fall 2022 survey on Friday, and I'm pleased to say we're over 86% participation of those students eligible to take it, our largest participation rate to date. Our first KESA goal is around interpersonal skills, which we measure by way of questions related to self-management. The goal is that by the end of the 22-23 school year, a minimum of 80% of students in grades 3 through 12 will demonstrate interpersonal skills important to life success, as evidenced by the self-management survey data. Data from the survey that was just concluded on Friday shows that 75% of students in grades 3 through 6 responded favorably to questions about self-management. This was an increase of 1% from the previous survey in the spring of 22. And the second goal is around personal resilience, which we measure by way of questions related to grit. This goal is that by the end of the 22-23 school year, a minimum of 60% of students in grades 3 through 12 will develop and utilize personal resilience skills, as evidenced by grit survey data. Data from the survey that was just concluded shows that 56% of students in grades 3 through 6 responded favorably to questions pertaining to grit competencies, an increase in 1% from the spring 22 data. And here you can see those same 2 goals for the grades 7 through 12. In our most recent survey, 73% of students in grades 7 through 12 responded favorably to questions around self-management. This is right where we fell in the spring 22 survey. And 52% of students in grades 7 through 12 responded favorably to questions pertaining to grit competencies, which was a 1% increase from our spring 22 results. Obviously, we still have some work to do, but we're headed in the right direction. Next, I wanted to share a little about incorporating social-emotional character development standards into our day-to-day work. You may have heard about the Cornerstone Cadre in previous presentations and reports. Over the past 3 years, a district cadre comprised of team members from across the district came together to identify priority social-emotional character development standards for each grade level and develop rubrics that will help teachers measure student progress toward mastery. Priority standards have been established at every grade level and come directly from KSDE's SECD standards. As this is the first year, we've started by asking every school across the district to incorporate one common standard or theme in their building. So for August, it was community building. This can be done in separate lessons, during morning meetings, or embedded into lessons throughout the day. The idea is that every school is spending time on one SECD standard a month, and in so doing, the standards are taught and reinforced across the curriculum. The Cornerstone Cadre provides resources and support as needed, but the response and the creativity from teachers in all subject areas as they weave important skills like friendship, community, and self-management into our day-to-day work has been amazing. The entire process has been well received by schools, students, and parents. More information about the Cornerstone SECD priority standards can be found on the district grade level expectations document. It's posted on the Academics, Curriculum, and Instruction website for elementary grades, and you can see a picture of the 6th grade information here. Next, the Department of Student and Family Services also maintains Section 504 plan data and supports buildings as they work to ensure plans are being implemented with fidelity across the district. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is a civil rights law that bans disability discrimination. It's also the law that provides 504 plans. If a student is determined to have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits a major life activity, a written 504 plan is developed outlining services and/or modifications designed to provide equal access and enable the student to participate in district programs and activities both in and outside the classroom. We have seen an increase in the number of requests at all levels, particularly at the elementary level. We attribute this to students continuing to transition back to traditional school and classrooms, and as they do, academic-related concerns are starting to emerge, resulting in an increase in requests for 504 evaluations. Next, let's switch gears to our McKinney-Vento or homeless students and families. National research and data indicate that experiencing homelessness can have a significant negative effect on children academically, socially, and emotionally. The McKinney-Vento law states that educational agencies shall ensure that each child of a homeless individual and each homeless youth has equal access to the same free, appropriate public education, including a public preschool education, as provided to other children and youth. In other words, we are tasked as a district with removing barriers and ensuring qualified homeless students are able to receive the same free, appropriate public education as provided to other students. To talk about that and the ways that Shawnee Mission District is working to increase community awareness and focus on prevention before a family becomes homeless, McKinney-Vento liaison David Armovich is going to join us. David?
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity for you all allowing me to speak for the next 3 hours. Just kidding. I want to acknowledge you, the board, and leadership team for navigating SMSD during these complex and heartening times in the world in which we are living. And on behalf of my fellow social workers and colleagues, I'd also like to thank you for all of the support and commitment to the work that we do. Prior to addressing prevention, I think it's important to keep in mind the context in which we view prevention in our community. Over the last 15 years I've been with this district, the increased lack of affordable housing nationwide and in our community has had a multitude of implications that significantly impact our students and families. That said, I've had the privilege of being allowed to take the walk with many and continue to observe extraordinary strength, courage, and resiliency. Project Home is now in its 7th year. It's a collaborative effort between service providers, faith communities, and the Shawnee Mission School District. The vision is to work towards eradicating homelessness and reducing poverty in Johnson County and promoting self-sufficiency for families and students at risk of becoming or currently experiencing houselessness. Project Home offers individualized and diverse support services designed to help families overcome housing-related barriers and students complete their education and enter adulthood hopeful and successful. The essence of Project Home is a diverse group of people working together towards a common goal. To date, we have prevented 249 houseless situations and have helped permanently house 71 Shawnee Mission School District families. Project Home does not happen without the incredible support of the leadership in this room, so thank you. In 2018, Jewish Family Services was selected to partner with the Kansas City United Way and the Shawnee Mission School District on the Family Empowerment Program. This program is designed for families with school-aged children at risk of homelessness. These programs provide comprehensive services to stabilize families in their homes while keeping children in their schools. Prevention efforts in Shawnee Mission School District does not occur without the generous donors of time, money, food, gas cards, computers, clothing, and even vehicles. To date, we've had 4 vehicles donated, and the list goes on. Shawnee Mission School District's relationship with the Care Portal is another preventative measure that we have access to. The Care Portal is a unified effort that creates connections with our faith-based communities within a certain zip code. For example, if a need for a bed arises, a short narrative is written and submitted to that particular zip code, and a response could come within minutes of that request. Prevention within Shawnee Mission School District also occurs with the generosity of the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation CARES Fund. To date, we have utilized over $25,000. The best prevention is when we all have the shared mindset of working together as one for a common good of all.
Thank you, David. And at this time, we'd like to transition back to Dr. Ziegler.
I'm going to just share briefly on our summer programs and our eSchool, both academic extensions of the support that we provide for students through our team. So this year, we have served over 4,000 students this past summer during our session and throughout the fall and spring semester of the previous school year with our eSchool enrollment. Summer Academy classes, which are reflected in that first row, are classes that are similar to regular high school classes, but accelerated into shorter calendar time when we do 2 4-week sessions in June and July of the summer. Students are able to consult with school counselors to determine the courses that are appropriate or needed, maybe to complete graduation requirements or possibly for their advancement. So core classes are reserved in the Academy for credit recovery to ensure that students are able to enroll in content necessary to keep them on track for graduation in situations where life has happened and maybe prevented them from being successful during the regular school terms. All courses in the Academy are taught in person with a certified teacher. Our eSchool program, I'm going to skip to the second to the last row of data, has a fall, spring, and summer term that we offer. With a limited number of high school virtual courses that are offered each semester and delivered outside of the traditional school day. So those courses are led also by certified instructors. There's a mandatory orientation meeting so that all students have the ability to understand what it means to take an eSchool course and what that commitment looks like so that they may be successful. There also is a mandatory in-person final that is part of our eSchool program. So there are several face-to-face opportunities for connection at the beginning, at the end, and then connections with instructors throughout that program. Our most popular courses in eSchool to date have been financial literacy, fitness for life, and health. Those allow students to progress through graduation requirements, and again, during the summer term as well as in the fall or spring semester. And the last piece of data with our support programs is our enrichment program. And summer enrichment courses are available for enrollment with sessions that have been added most recently to include our earliest learners with our pre-K friends that have been joining us. All classes are designed to develop new interests in our students and skills through very hands-on, experiential, participatory activities throughout that summer. The enrollment in the summer of the 2021 was capped, so you'll see a little bit of a decline in the data there as we maintained smaller class sizes and had some distancing practices in place. But we were pleased to see our enrollment did pick back up in the 2022 session. Overall, we've seen continued growth in summer and eSchool programs, and our participation is growing. I will now transition to Dr. Bates, and we're going to hear a little bit about our diversity, equity, inclusion work.
Thank you, Dr. Ziegler. Good evening, school board members and Dr. Hubbard, leadership team members, families, community members, and most importantly, our students. Good evening. So a focus all along as the district transitions from contracted support has been on developing an internally sustainable model with internal training practices and processes that include building administrators and building DEIB, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Teams working collaboratively with equity practitioners and myself to continue this important work. Equity practitioners serve as trainers of trainers, with 30 staff members trained and certified to deliver future content, guidance, and support. Equity practitioners regularly communicate and collaborate, in addition to participating in monthly meetings for planning as well as continued professional collaboration and growth. Their professional learning is supported by myself and other local and regional practitioners. Equity practitioners are in service to our building DEIB teams with the purpose of sustaining and enhancing the goal of strategy 231 to implement deep equity training for all staff, ongoing professional development centered around inclusion and diversity. Our other focus this year is our youth equity stewards. Youth equity stewards are high school students who self-selected to participate and were validated by a teacher and administrator from their high school in order to enhance their leadership skills by adding an equity lens to it. These students have engaged in several day-long sessions to sharpen their leadership saw. This experience seeks to prepare them to be in service to our DEIB professional development by co-facilitating with their teachers. Also, this experience will aid those interested in sitting at tables where decisions are being made. This is an inclusion practice that will shift us towards making more decisions with students rather than for them. Tonight we have with us Janessa Gillespie Hughes, a 12th grade student from Shawnee Mission North, Jean Ozaka, 12th grade student at Shawnee Mission East, Aiden Ace Cofield, 11th grade student from Shawnee Mission South, and Perla Moreno, 12th grade student from Shawnee Mission Northwest. They've been each asked to share responses to the questions, what has been your experience in the YES program? And secondly, how have you used what you have learned from YES to impact your school or life? So our first speaker tonight is Janessa Gillespie Hughes from Shawnee Mission North.
My experience in the YES program has been very enjoyable, and I look forward to every meeting. This is my second year in the YES program. I have met so many cool and like-minded people in this community. I've always felt like I had a voice and like I was heard. I always felt that what I said was important, even if someone disagreed or had another viewpoint. I have learned from YES that there are people similar to me, whether that be in our interests, our identities, our relationships, or anything else. Not that I didn't already believe in my abilities, but I think that yes definitely reminds me and it helps to build my own strength and belief in myself. I believe that every one of us in the Yes program have a goal and will reach it. I think that seeing the ambitions of the others and having support and encouragement from others helps to remind us that we can do whatever we want or need, whether that be on a large scale or a small scale, and whether that be as a group or individually. It teaches us and reminds us that we have so much power and potential in our hands, and it's up to us to use it. Yes has taught me other perspectives and that my perspective is just as important as anyone else's. It is a chance to get to know one another, a chance to really understand one another on a deeper level and still share that mutual respect. It teaches us that there are ways to come together and exist peacefully and respectfully regardless of our backgrounds, our ethnicity, our sexuality, our gender, our interests, etc. Yes truly feels like a community to me, and I would not be saying it if I did not feel that way. It is a safe space where everyone is welcome, and that's what it has taught me.
Thank you. Thank you, Janessa. Our next speaker is Ms. Jean Ozaka from Shawnee Mission East.
Hello. Excuse me. Hi, I'm Jean. My experience with the Yes program has been really a whole lot of fun. I love it a lot. I've made a lot of new friends, specifically from other high schools within our district, which is really cool because I don't get to meet a lot of other high schoolers not in my high school. I've gained a lot of insight into my peers' lives and what it's like being another person also going through what I'm going through. And I've had a lot of thought-provoking conversations and a lot of I found new ways to be thoughtful and just think about life. And how I've used what I've learned is I've been a lot more vigilant and self-aware of social inequalities and my privilege specifically within my school and my communities. I've learned to what I should be looking out for and how to have conversations and talk to people. I've become a leader within my school communities, and I use my voice to speak out when I'm needed. And Yes has really given me the confidence to do that and given me the backbone to learn and grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Our third speaker is Mr. Aiden Ace Cofield from Shawnee Mission South.
Alrighty. Hi, I'm Ace Cofield. The true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. Nelson Henderson said that. When I first joined Yes at the beginning of June, legacy was the first thing Dr. Bates planted into my mind. In past seasons of my life, I lived in the moment. The most change at my school I want to make was what we were having for lunch. Yes gave me the opportunity to change myself and aspire to see change in others. Not just to think about the now, but to also think about the future. It gave me a net to fall back on, a spring in my step, but most importantly, it gave me ambition. Yes gave me the perspective to see others. If I take my problems and put them in a pile with problems of others, when I go to pick up mine, I'm bound to pick up others too. Yes showed me that our pile of stuff, which could be life, home life, school life, could be a hot pile of garbage. But it also showed me that it could look like a castle on a hill, and that inspired me to live with integrity and discipline. I've always wanted to change the world, but Yes showed me the change I can make in myself and compassion and care I have for others. We have to be solution-focused instead of problem-focused. That takes thought, that takes patience, that takes cooperation, but it also takes great leadership. It's not the size of the project that determines the acceptance, support, and the success of. It's the size of the leader. John Maxwell.
Thank you, Ace. And our final speaker, student speaker this evening is Ms. Perla Moreno from Shawnee Mission Northwest.
Hi. Since I've been in Yes, I'm more educated on things that matter to me. I felt more seen and heard. I feel like being in youth equity stewardship has led me to be more comfortable to speak out and has helped me realize how I can at least try to educate people in our community. Being in Yes has also been a fun place where I can meet new people who are alike and unlike me. It is a wide variety of people, and it's very interesting to hear other people's life experiences. Overall, my experience has been amazing. Outside of Yes, I have felt more comfortable talking about topics that matter. I've felt more able, like that it's more acceptable to talk about things that matter to me because of Yes. It's got me outside of my comfort zone.
Thank you. I want to thank our students again for your courage and your time this evening, in spite of the many other things you could be doing on a Monday evening. I don't know what that could be, right? But I want to thank you for that and your time, your leadership tonight, and remind you to stand by for questions from our board members at the end of our presentation. At this time, I'd like to turn things back over to Dr. McKinney to speak to our family engagement experiences.
Thank you, Dr. Bates. Thank you, students. And finally, this evening, we wanted to share a little bit about the work we're doing around school-based family engagement activities. Recently, we held our second annual bilingual event here at the center, where over 20 local organizations, including colleges, universities, El Centro, Johnson County Public Library, Growing Futures, and so many more came together to share information, resources, and support for SMSD's bilingual families. Director of Health Services Paula Bundy was also kind enough to join us. This event was once again organized by Connie Springfield and Elizabeth Alt, and I just want to shout out to all the ELL teachers and the translators from across the district who helped us promote the event with their students and with their families, and then came to the event and stayed as well. We look forward to seeing this important event continue to grow. And also here you see a flyer for an event that's happening tonight at Shawnee Mission South. The Future Focus Fiesta is an opportunity for families and students to learn more about the financial component of attending college. Shawnee Mission West recently held a similar event. We're proud of the work that these student services teams are doing and will continue to support them as they educate students and families. And lastly, later this week, Rose Hill and Corinth will once again come together to host their Two Schools, One Night Around the World event. This event showcases the amazing diversity in their buildings and features food, arts, and crafts from different cultures, as well as performances by local groups and musicians. Just another example of the amazing work our schools are doing as they work toward ensuring every student and family feels safe, valued, and welcomed in the Shawnee Mission School District. Now back to Dr. Ziegler.
So as we close our presentation tonight, we have many points of pride to celebrate, and I must give thanks and just share an abundance of gratitude to the team that has assembled this evening, including our amazing students, along with our student services team. I couldn't be prouder of the work that they continue to do and the ongoing commitment to serve our learning community. We're very proud of the work that happens at our district and our building level to support students and families. And we believe that the continued efforts align directly with the district's beliefs as articulated in our strategic plan. We are prepared for any questions that you may have at this time. And thank you again for your time and continued support of the work that we do.
Thank you. I am going to open it up to the board members, looking up and down the aisle for questions. Ms. Borgman.
I want to thank our students so much for being here tonight. You guys always add such a special piece and voice to our board meetings, so thank you so much for being here, and thank you for leaning into the YES program. It sounds like it's impacted you, each of you, in big ways, and I have a feeling I'm looking at 4 incredible leaders, future leaders in our community, and likely bigger. So thank you so much for again leaning into this group. And I just was wondering, I know that Dr. Bates had mentioned that this is a neat program because, as Dr. Bates had said, that we are making decisions with students and not for students. Can you talk a little bit about that and what kinds of decisions that you've made alongside instructors to benefit Shawnee Mission and help your peers.
Well, at our last meeting, we got to talk about problems within our school that we would like to see changes in. One of them being a student panel, or like a way that students could go to different schools and talk about how it's okay to like be proud of your culture, which is really interesting to me, which is something we got to talk to with this Benji, I think. Yeah, with Wade and Benji. It's really cool to interact with them and just kind of talk about how we can make a difference and what the steps are that lead us to make those differences so that we can be the role models that we wanted to see when we were younger.
Okay, kind of adding to what Perla said, at the last meeting, we were talking about things in the district that we had issues with, things we wanted to change and how we can change it. And it really makes us feel like we have a voice. And earlier before this meeting with Dr. Bates, we were talking about how we can bring yes to our schools individually instead of just bringing students from the Shawnee Mission School District to the CAA and bringing it from the CAA to our schools individually. So I feel like we have a voice with that, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to represent our schools and represent the YES program at our own schools individually as well.
Thank you.
I'll just add in real quickly that some of our students from YES have also served in our new team member academy. All of our new team members that went through academy in August participated in sessions that our students helped lead. And what was really powerful, Perla was part of one of those sessions, and I don't know if you want to talk about it, but there was an awesome opportunity for our students to share what's important so that new team members that are stepping into our classrooms and different elements of our district could hear from their voice about what is important to them for their future teachers and support team members as well.
Yeah, I got to talk to a bunch of like new teachers at South, which is really cool to like be given the opportunity to speak with them firsthand, tell them what it's like being in what it's like being in youth equity stewardship and what it's like being a minority and how important diversity is. It was a really cool opportunity.
That's great. Ms. Boyd-Nerona?
Serious question. Have either of you considered being a school board member? Serious question. With the leadership and the experience that you uniquely have experienced, you're uniquely poised for considering that. Have either of you, any of you, considered that?
I'm just going to go ahead and, it's already on. About a year ago, there was a situation at my school where I was in history class and we were talking about the Europeans coming over, conquering everything, and some of the teacher made some comments, the textbook made some comments, and immediately in that classroom I was like, wait a minute, this can't be right, this can't be true. So I ended up going to my administrator at the time. His name was Mr. Bradley Page, and he got me in the seating with Dr. Bates, and that was a year ago. And so to be able to sit here now and say, wow, you know, it felt so out of reach, right? It felt so like, oh, I couldn't do it. And then now to be here. So to answer your question, yes, I would. That's something I would. It's a leap I'm willing to take, to risk it all, really. So yeah.
Thank you for that answer. I'd like an answer from all of you. Briefly, but it's a very valid question for all of us here.
Hello, okay. I don't think that I want to be a representative in such a broad scale of being, what's it called? Yeah, school board member, but I think I definitely want to make my voice heard, which is why I definitely take pride in leadership positions that I holds right now, such as the YES program, and I'm also co-president of CORE at my school, which is the Coalition of Racial Equality. And I feel like that definitely also gives me a voice, so I definitely want to be a representative of that, even if it's not on such a wide scale.
I would love to be on the school board to make decisions about these things. I remember, I think it was 8th grade, I'd watched a documentary, again, about like history, and like ever since then I've just been so fascinated with how much of my personal history and how much history that we don't learn and how much of the history is biased, and I've always just been, to me, heartbreaking because I don't get to see myself and my family represented in our history classes, and it's always been a really big thing to me to be educated on things that actually matter to me, that actually take effect, or that actually affect me. Because when I've asked almost every history teacher, I ask, why do we need to learn about history? And they say, because it's your history, you can learn from this, you can learn from their mistakes. And every time I'm like, this is not my history. I'm not European, I'm not anything. My ancestors are Aztec and Mexican. This is not my history. All of my ancestors were brutally just hurt, which is why I would love to be on there making decisions about how important it is for kids to see themselves represented, because it really is, to me at least, to my family, a really big deal.
Short answer, no. Long answer is that I personally know one of you on the board, and seeing the kind of work that you do, it's really honorable, and but it's a lot. There's a lot of commitment and emotional labor that goes into that, and while I would really, really love to use my skills and my leadership in another form, I think that school board is maybe so much for me.
Thank you for planting that seed, right?
That's
So
right.
appreciate that. The experiences that students are going through is setting them up to be able to sit at tables. The infrastructure for that is not in place yet, so we're still working to create that. They still have 2 more experiences left. They still have to sit down and talk about how does this bleed back into their school, and how do they engage other peers in this experience. So we have several steps to take to build out what the infrastructure for preparing the system so that we could, in fact, have room at the table for students to sit and learn with us.
Thank you. Ms. Embry.
I have one. Thank you so much to all the students for being here. Aiden, if you want to run for my seat, I would like to talk to you. Let's meet. Let's connect after. My question is actually kind of big picture about student and family services. I noticed we had a higher number of 504s than we've had in the past. I'm just curious, sort of lingering social emotional impacts of COVID and COVID-related measures and all the isolation and trauma that came with the last few years, how that's showing up in a day-to-day way for our social workers and your departments.
Yeah, we're seeing an increase in a number of concerns in a number of areas, particularly around just readjusting to the return to traditional school, around emotional regulation, around interacting with peers, around developing friendships, around reading social cues, even things like playing with one another, because we missed out on play dates for a few years. There's learning, again, how to interact with one another in a positive way, how to express what you need or what you want in a way that is positive and affirmative versus just sort of taking or negative. So we're seeing a lot of, I've heard a lot of this from the social workers, and sort of the way to summarize it all is how to do school, really how to return to the classroom, how to interact with one another, how to persevere when things get tough. We're seeing some struggles around that as well, easily sort of giving up rather than sort of sticking through and allowing yourself to fail, that it's okay to fail. these are all things that we believe we're going to address by way of the Cornerstone Cadre work, the implementation of priority SECD standards, and of course things that our social workers and our counselors are working with students on every day, and really just working through zones of regulation and how to coping skills and all of those important characteristics of SEL that we missed out on for a couple years. And so in the midst of all that, we are seeing an increase in requests for 504 plans, but we have a very stable and established process for identifying whether or not a student qualifies for 504. And so we're working through that process with each one of those requests. But yeah, you're not mistaking what you're seeing.
So
Ms. Ousley.
thank you. I have two things. One is a comment and then one is a question for Dr. McKinney. My first is my comment. Girls State and Boys State are programs in the summer where students can go and get the opportunity to run for office and assume the roles and do the parts. And they not only have, slots to run for governor and attorney general and House rep, and they don't have school board members. We need to work with them on that. We do. But they also have the opportunity to be the chief clerk for the various governing bodies and to do the research and the organization and to provide the information necessary to the individuals who are making the votes. And so I am thankful for the folks who are willing to use their skill sets and leadership sets behind the scenes to get the information that's necessary to the people who are making the decisions, because there's too much information out there. We can't do it alone. So it's okay if you don't want to run for office. We know you have a lot of talents to bring to the table one way or the other. And then my question is with regards to social emotional learning, because we know how important it is to academics, and I think that is something that sometimes folks lose sight of, and it's part of our state standards. And it strikes me that a lot of times what we're measuring is like the health overall of the building. Our children, do they feel like they're belonging in the building? Do they, what are their experiences? Are they having opportunities to show their grit and that sort of thing? And so we're measuring kind of overall so we can see the improvement for the district. It's almost like we're scoring ourselves somewhat to see how we're doing and what resources we're providing to students. Are we cognizant of how individual students are progressing with those skill sets? Like, do we have feedback loops for families or for students themselves, like in high school, if we can tell that a child is improving in a particular area? What is the feedback loop for that like? Because we can go on Canvas and access our students' success in their classes, but as a parent, right, as a parent. But with regards to putting more tools in their toolbox to process emotions or to be able to be vulnerable to experience failures. For example, with all of the kiddos applying for college, apply for the REACH schools. You might get some additional rejections, but man, if you get that acceptance to that one school that was just right out there, then those 10 rejection letters don't matter. So I guess my question is, how are we measuring how that impact is occurring for an individual student and that we're reaching them and getting them that information?
I would say that I still consider us sort of in the educational stage of SECD. We've made a lot of progress since 2019 when the board approved the use of Panorama Social Emotional Survey as a means of measuring where our students are with regard to grit, self-awareness, teacher-student relationships, overall school culture. When the board approved that in 2019, we recognized the need in the same way that we bring together data around math or, English or any other core subject, and we utilize that data to see where we're doing some things well, but also where there's areas of need that we need to do things differently or better. So I still consider it, because we had those 2 years of the pandemic that sort of interrupted our progress, I still consider us to be in the educational stage of the SEC side of things. I think we've made a lot of progress, as evidenced by this year we had the most families and parents consent to Panorama, to take the Panorama survey than we've ever had. And so I attribute that to providing more information, more education, sharing information with parents around the existing Panorama data, which is available through the school. I will tell you that a question arose earlier around what about during parent-teacher conferences. I don't know that we are at a point where every staff member is equipped to be able to provide and discuss the Panorama data with a family, for example, at a parent-teacher conference. But the school social worker most definitely is. The building administrator most definitely is. Our school counselors most definitely are. So we do have individuals in the building who are the mental health professionals or the educational leaders in the building who are equipped to provide that information to families and then provide some resources and support to help bolster that individual student's needs. We're getting there as far as the full staff goes. Dr. Dennis's work with the Cornerstone Cadre and the monthly SECD priority standard and just getting everybody used to accessing those standards, utilizing those standards, developing lessons around those standards, that's been instrumental in broadening our the knowledge base around SECD with our staff. We recognize this work doesn't just fall to social workers or counselors or administrators, it's everybody. But to this point, I don't know that we would say everybody is prepared to have those conversations about SECD in the same way that they are around their subject area yet. But we're getting there. And, you know, I've said this story many times to most of the people in this room, but when you talk to people about SECD and you describe, you know, we're going to teach them growth mindset and perseverance and self-resilience and how to overcome issues and how to problem solve, how to work with others, how to build friendships, how to work with others when you're having difficulties, how to find common ground. Everybody says, that sounds great. We definitely want our students to be able to do that. So that's really the angle that we're coming at it from. This isn't just, you know, something that KSDE or the SMSD thought up. These are important life skills that will help you now throughout your education and beyond. And it's not just good for students, it's good for adults as well. So we've got a ways to go as far as the education piece goes, but working with the C&I department, working with Dr. Bates and his work around DEIB, I think we've made some progress. We just still have a ways to go.
And that's totally okay. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing right now and for where you're at. And thank you so much to the students for being here tonight.
So this might be somewhat of a similar question, but I'm looking at the shifting back to the students. Do you get a sense that your fellow high school students are aware that how the district uses and works to improve schools from the data collected from the Panorama? So your input in the Panorama survey and that kind of data helps drive decisions and how the teachers and administrators might look to improve things in the school setting. Do you think the students are aware that that information is used to make improvements, and is that important? To the students. It was kind of, yeah.
I think that the students probably don't have that much of an understanding of it. So I think our teachers try to stress a little bit, but we might not always listen. And sometimes it's just like it might take a little bit of time, or we might be doing other work, but I think that stressing the importance of it and how it affects the school district and that the data is going towards that to make it better, I think that might definitely help students to understand how it actually impacts us more and impacts the district.
I do not think that the students understand what is going on in the district at all. I don't think they don't know what's going on.
In their building?
They don't really know what's going on in their building either. Specifically, I go to Shawnee Mission East. And I just hear a lot of like, I don't know what's happening. They're not doing anything, whatever. And so that's it. And then when we were told to take the panorama test or survey or whatever it is, everyone was like, this is so weird, and I don't know why I'm doing this, and I wish I didn't have to do this, and nobody understands. They don't really see the impact, so yeah. Yes, yet.
And this is why we love having students at the table. They shoot
Well,
it to us
I'm just,
straight.
yeah,
It's
so, I
awesome.
mean, clearly the
Yeah.
participation rate is, do you perceive that as a way of sharing your voice through that survey and your thoughts about how things are going in school?
From what I've seen, I feel like most of the students, they acknowledge it and they're like, oh, okay, like they're going to use it eventually, whatever. But they don't really care because it doesn't directly affect them.
I really appreciate the feedback, too. Thank you.
And I didn't mean to invalidate, I just was, I'm sorry.
No, the last 2 years, we've really spent focusing on educating families and parents about what it is, what it isn't, and why it's important. But this has been great for me, too, because clearly I need to, sort of focus some attention on making sure students are aware of why we're doing this as well. And part of that is getting them back their feedback and their data. So this is great information for me, and definitely something that we can take on, really start to address at the student level why this is important, not just now, but in the future.
I think that every school experience is different. Every student is going to have a different experience. So even if we do a survey over the entire school, it might be a representative example, but I feel like what I appreciate about Yes or whatever, and like other things where we can talk more, I feel like we can really voice our opinion and really speak about how we really feel, and you can hear more voices and from a more diverse group of people rather than a general selection of students. I hope you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Aiden?
My question is, are we focused on high participation or the answers? Because we could have 90% participation rate, and then the answers are just dull and have no energy, So if we I'm confused on what we're targeting, if that's my question.
Well, I just was trying to check my assumption that a high participation rate, especially at secondary level, might mean that, okay, hey, maybe as a student, I'm sharing some of my thoughts and somebody's going to listen to me and do something with this. That's how, so I just was checking an assumption of that rate of participation. If I can take that to mean, hey, somebody might listen to what I'm saying and make a difference in my school.
From my experience, a lot of it is your teacher says you have to do this. Nobody really wants to do it, but we do it anyway because we're supposed to. We have to. We don't really want to do it. We don't really feel like we're being heard or whatever. Like I know when I'm filling out those forms, I don't really feel like I'm being heard. I just feel like I'm checking a box. But obviously, I didn't know what they were being used for until today. So I think that if maybe if we shared those within classrooms, that'd be really cool. Be really cool to see our data. But yeah.
I wanted to bounce off of that kind of. I agree with that. I think that a lot of people just don't take it seriously, and a lot of times we see issues in our own schools and we try to report them or address them, and it seems that not a lot of things are done about that, and I've had my own personal experiences with that in regards to racism and stuff in my school. And I know that a lot of other students that I know have had their own experience as far as racism, sexual assault, any issues like that as well. So I agree, and I think that if again, if the data was shared and it was stressed how it actually does affect the district, then it would definitely help students to engage a lot more in the surveys and feel like they actually are being heard, as well as the response from our own schools and feeling like we're being heard as well when our issues are actually addressed.
Appreciate that. Okay.
I have one additional question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you again. I have 3 high schoolers in my house, so what you were saying at the table, I've heard in my own home. So don't feel like you're alone in your thoughts, not that I think you do, but things that we've heard before, so we appreciate you sharing. I want to lean into the McKinney-Vento portion a little bit, so thank you, Mr. Armovich, for sharing with us about McKinney-Vento and Project Home and all the work that you have done in preventing so many families and Shawnee Mission students from homelessness. And so I just was curious just kind of about how like the health of Project Home from a financial perspective, and if we're able to continue to meet the needs of our Shawnee Mission students moving forward based on just, from a purely financial standpoint.
Take your wallets out now. No, I appreciate that question, and yes, we could always use financial resources. We're seeing an unprecedented amount of our affordable housing in this county go away. Just that last week, we lost about 25 other units, and I'm asking for some statistics, but my guesstimation is probably we've lost over 150 affordable housing units in our county over the last couple of years. And so many of the folks that are coming to us are in pretty dire ways, and we're seeing our most economically challenged folks really get squeezed. And so any kind of support that can come our way towards Project Home is going to hopefully continue to build our more people an opportunity for permanent housing and to prevent a houseless situation. So thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I think that concludes our questions. Dr. Hubbard, did you have any?
Yeah, I just want to thank the Student Family Services team. A lot of work and effort went into this report, and to the four of you, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. I always love to hear students as well. It gives me hope for our future, so thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Okay. That we have a list of additional discussion items that are all policy related. So it's items 3.02 to items 3.17. So these are all first reads, and so perhaps Dr. Hubbard, you could just take us through, and then if anybody has a question, kind of jump in. If I'm not seeing you, say something. Okay?
All right, so I just want to remind you all, these are first reads. If you have comments or things you want us to consider for the second read, to please let me know in the next week or so. We have several, so I'm going to move through them pretty quickly, and then we'll answer questions. I would like to answer questions on the actual policy if you have them. And then I just want to remind you, at our next meeting, we will have these 16 plus. We have 6 carrying over from September, so we'll have a lot of second reads moving into our next meeting. But I'm going to start with 3.2 policy BBE. This is just a KASB recommendation and minor language change for clarification and ease of use. Any questions there? All right, policy BDA. KASB is recommending revisions to better reflect district practices and to add a provision from policy CMA, which KASB is recommending that we delete, which you'll see here in just a few minutes. Questions regarding CMA or BDA? CMA is the one we're going to delete. All right, so policy CEC, KASB is recommending amended the policy language to provide flexibility to allow the board the options of using a professional search service and or to offer the position to an internal candidate. And again, most of these we already do and have language, it's just cleaning that language up. So jumping to policy, skipping CMA, which will be a deletion in accordance with BDA. I'm skipping to DJAA. SMSD currently does not have, oh, sorry, that's not true. So this is policy, this is a revision to DGAA, which we already have. Questions there? Policy FC. KASB is recommending a minor language change for the purpose of clarification. Additional changes to this section titled Naming of Facilities reflect the KASB model policy language. GAA, the revisions to this policy were made to reflect, again, KASB model language. Policy GCIA, the revisions reflect minor language change being recommended by KASB to clarify that coaches and sponsors are evaluated on an annual basis. Again, this is KASB model language. We did get a question today about this particular policy and how to define coaches and sponsors, because it can be loose in some cases, especially when you use the word sponsor. So we probably will be suggesting in a second read that we would be defining them by supplemental pay. So if it's a coach or a sponsor under the agreement that receives a supplemental stipend, that would be the definition of coach or sponsor. So we plan to add that just based on that question that we received today, just for clarification. So if you have other questions around that one, please let me know. Questions with that? Okay. IIA, KSB is recommending that an additional section titled Credit Through Alternative Education Opportunities be added to this policy in compliance with House Bill 2567. This is something that we already do, so it's just cleaning up the policy language. Questions there? Okay, IIB-GB, Online Learning Opportunities. KSB is recommending this additional language regarding approval of online coursework. And again, we are already in alignment with this. It would just clean up the language.
May I ask or make a comment real quick? Okay, so I did get a comment from someone in the community that says under application, the second sentence, the student and the student's parents. Should we change parents to guardians or?
So the rest of our policies don't currently reflect that way, so that's something I think we take up into consideration in policy review, and we would do it similar to what we're doing with district and.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then policy ING, which is KSB recommending a few changes to this policy, basically clarifying federal law around service animals and clearing up that service animals does not equate to therapy dogs. So there's a difference there. So just cleaning that up. JCAC, KSB is recommending these revisions to reflect that district administrators and SROs are required to meet with local law enforcement on a regular basis. We currently do that. So, but again, it's just language to clean up. Policy JGFF, these revisions also reflect KASB model policy language, including the June 2022 updates. And then another transportation, JGG, again, it's a KASB recommendation to reflect that schools use other vehicles rather than just buses, including private transportation providers, and which we do that as well. So this again would just be cleaning up that language. JHC, KASB is recommending this additional language to clarify the procedure for non-school sponsored clubs. And then the last one, KGA, which we just recently updated, but again, this is KSB just making this clarification to clear up confusion about the definition and the term of district personal property. I do want to remind everyone that this is not about our computers and acceptable use policy. That is actually addressed in IIBF, and the policy reflects that as well. So I just wanted to alleviate confusion. So that takes us through the first read on those. So again, as of right now, the only change that we would be recommending from the administration team would be to that GCIA. And then I would, for the parent guardian question, I think that needs to go back to policy review in December.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, and thank you to the Policy Review Committee. Ms. Emery?
Can I ask just to confirm what I'm hearing, which is that there's a lot of policies here. I'm trying to decide where to dedicate my mental energy, and most of this is cleanup, and am I right that none of these reflect any major changes to our day-to-day operations as a district? They're sort of codifying, cleaning up, capturing, and writing.
You're absolutely right, but what I want to add to that is it doesn't really change any of our practice. However, there were significant law changes, especially from House Bill 2567, that a couple of these reflect, but it wasn't things we weren't already doing, but it does actually place it into policy and just clean it up to align with that House bill.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to our consent items, and unless anyone has an item to pull, I'm seeking approval for items 4.01 to 6.03.
So moved, Owsley.
Second, Borgman.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And that leaves us at board comments. I want to look up and down the dais if there are any board comments. I'm going to take that as a, hey, let's conclude this meeting. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.